Well, we'll get back with Connor in a
Will
minute.
get to us. He's been up there scouring for information up top, so we'll get to him here in just a couple of seconds.
Well, we saw on the ramp cam, and obviously we're going to go through the storylines of the drivers in tonight, but one that just stuck out to me, Clinton, is Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Back here at the Chili Bowl. I mean, a 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion. We saw him race this race 2 years ago or last year, but he's ran a lot more this year. What have you seen out of him?
Yeah, and he talked about, coming in here with laps inside this building and kind of a repeat deal and teaming up with Kyle and just having really good information around you on guys helping you out, trying to figure out this tricky racetrack and how to race here at Chili Bowl. There's definitely a racecraft, and Chase is someone smart enough to figure out how to do that and be successful. And I think he's got a pretty good heat race here to get some passing points and put himself in a good spot in the qualifier. So excited to see what he can do and really love the the NASCAR involvement that we have here, whether it's, Matt Weaver with the social media side, bringing in a ton of new fans to these drivers that draw, endless fans into what Chili Bowl is. So really cool to share that with everyone that, maybe doesn't know what Chili Bowl is. And, hopefully people tuned into Flo listening to us.
And Chase will have extra laps as well, getting invited to the Race of Champions this year for the first time, having been. Well, and the technicality on that is our defending Cup Series champion is also already in the Race of Champions, having been a Chili Bowl champion, Kyle Larson. So that extends it back to 2020 and allowing Chase to run. And I think, not only are we honoring champions, but, again, valuable seat time for Chase.
It's going to be one of those days where he gets a lot of seat time. He's one of those drivers that we talked about is going to run the Viroc and his entire preliminary day plus practice today. He was assuming, one of the first 7 practice sessions out on the racetrack at the early Tulsa morning hours in which we opened the building. So
and
long day for him.
Not necessarily planned for him to run all these laps on one day. It just worked out with the Viroc race getting moved to today and him being on Monday with his schedule later this week. And I think that's best case scenario for Chase. The most laps you can have in a day, the better. There's no break in between to kind of forget anything. Not that he's going to forget, but it's good to be fresh and true to it. And the other thing we'll see here is these cars roll out that we didn't see earlier is 2 groups practicing at one time. So a lot more cars on racetrack at this practice group, and guys are going to be a little bit on edge, not wanting to do anything silly. But we have seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in these practice sessions.
Well, you can't win your prelim night in hot laps. You can certainly lose it.
Except for last year when hot laps actually did pay something. But now one of the things that they did during our practice sessions earlier was roll everybody out and then split them off and move a group to the middle. So it's yet to be seen whether they're going to do that or not, unless you caught something up in the pit area that said, hey, we're going to hot lap 20 cars at once.
Yeah, no, usually it's everybody at once. So we'll have 18 cars out here, 2 groups of 9. And it makes for a lot of really close racing on a really fast, tight racetrack. As you get a good look at Chase Elliott there.
And that's a new chassis for Kyle Larson's team with the Eagles this year. He primarily ran Kings the last couple years, and so I know Kyle kind of was talking about it earlier today of kind of working some of the bugs out of them a little bit. Didn't get to run them as much as they could. I mean, obviously Chase had some laps in him earlier in the fall and obviously into the winter months. So still trying to figure some things out, but Paul Silva had enough time, he said, to really take some swings at it, make things good. And I tell you what, Kyle, although he went out pretty early as far as hot laps this morning, both him and Chase look pretty good.
Well, you said the keywords right there. Paul Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put him and open-wheel dirt cars together, and good things happen. So if anybody's going to be able to figure it out from a wrenching standpoint, it will be him.
Tyler Courtney, another preliminary night contender each and every year. I think he's trying to go for his 5th straight Saturday A main, if my numbers are correct. And obviously we've normally seen him on Tuesday, moving to Monday. There's a lot of jockeying for position. Clinton, as a driver, do you get to pick? How does that work on your prelim night?
Yeah, when you're with a team like Sunshine is, you kind of all work together to find nights that work for everybody. And guys usually have their prelim night, and we see Cannon McIntosh Monday night's his prelim night.
Mr. Monday.
Won the last couple, and so he, Sunshine was scheduled to run on Tuesday and just didn't like what he saw and tried to make the move to Monday, and it wasn't going to work out for Sunshine unless somebody left Monday to go to a different night. And I think luckily enough there was a couple guys that maybe had some engine issues, whatever it may be, that decided to run later in the week to buy themselves some more time to work on their cars, which opened up the door for Sunshine to move to Monday. So it's tough. Not everybody gets to move around, and you don't always get what you want, but that's the nature of the beast here at Chili Bowl.
Look at one of our Hawaiian contingent of drivers out on the raceway. 8S is Kellanoy out of Waianae, Hawaii. Shout out to my Hawaii friends who are going to be watching and immediately on the Twitter machine telling me how badly I pronounce that.
I walk by their trailer in the very back of the pit area when you're going to leave and walk outside, and the food smells absolutely amazing.
I can only imagine.
Oh my gosh. Every time I walk by, I just want to go eat, and I'm mad that I can't eat their food.
I'm sure maybe you could ask. They'll give you a sample platter.
They're probably friendly guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would hope so.
Chase Briscoe there running his own car once again in that 5 machine. Mr. Hard Luck when it comes to trying to lock this thing. He's a former Chili Bowl A-main starter on Saturday, but, man, the last 3 years he's either been the first guy out or one of the first 2 or 3 out of the B-main on Saturday. So I know he's been eager to get on track and try to change that luck around.
Briscoe's got a really fascinating heat race coming up. He's going to be in heat race number 2, and that second row is just killer. The front row itself is interesting, with Paul White starting inside row number 1, who's a guy we've seen lead Chili Bowl heat races, win Chili Bowl heat races. In fact, many years ago when we were giving out our Elbows Up Award, he was an Elbows Up Award winner on one night just because of his ability to take what we considered an underfunded operation and compete with the biggest boys. He's got a prime starting spot, and next to him is Jake Andriotti, who is just an absolute terror in micro sprints and has been dabbling in wing sprint cars out in California. That's a kid with a lot of talent. The row behind them, it's Tyler Courtney and Chase Briscoe. So that front 4 of heat race number 2 on a track that might not be all the way up to the wall already is going to be really fascinating. Get a look in and around. There's a look at Chase Elliott. Elliott's going off inside row 2 on heat race number 1 tonight. It's a pretty good position to start off your first heat race.
Yeah, being heat race number 1, I really like that starting spot. You hope the inside row gets a jump, and then your leader makes a mistake at some point, and you can take the lead and move right on by. Chase Elliott might not even know it, but he's got a prime spot here at the Chili Bowl.
And there's other fast guys in that heat race, but they're all buried. Yeah. Cannon McIntosh started inside row 4. Mitchell Mole started inside row number 5.
Those guys are going to have to be elbows up, and honestly, those two can work together to get some moves made and try to pass cars. Whether it be they both try to roll in a second lane up top, or one starts rooting the way and the other follows along. There's a lot of ways to make passes here at Chili Bowl.
In some ways, it's just root the guy out of the way, and
that's why we put Nerf bars on him.
That's right. As has been said on this broadcast many times, well, it's Chili Bowl.
Yeah.
Get a look at car number 87 on the raceway. That is Austin Garrett. Garrett's out of Seguin, Texas. 87C is how we will score him. 121 is Steve Glover. The Glove starts inside row number 3 from Rochester, New York. So the green flag is out on this hot lap session.
Just like that, checkered flag out on hot lap group number 1. We saw Cannon McIntosh quickly go to the top of the speed charts there. That was a little bit of concern earlier today. They had the hood off, that 08 thing out of the Dave Mack camp, and said it wasn't running right. Well, it certainly looks like it's running right now.
Second quick is a sneaky guy in that group. Jacob Denny won, I believe, 6 USAC Midwest Thunder Midget main events in a row and has been really good when he's competed in the open midgets as well. So keep your eyes on Denny. He starts dead last in heat race number 2, so he's got a chance to make up some passing points also.
We look at the lap times they're turning. We always talk about anything in the 10-second bracket is really, really good, and we only have two guys in the 10-second bracket with Denny and McIntosh, but McIntosh way ahead at a 10-7-2-1, and I'm not sure, but that might be the unofficial track record here at Chili Bowl. That's something Wikipedia can maybe give us some info on throughout the night if I text them, but that's lower than I remember last year being the quickest time overall, and I know last year we were setting unofficial track records. So that's the really cool thing about the VIROC race tonight with the actual qualifying.
Yeah.
We get a chance to lay down official track records again.
Well, let us now welcome in another member of our broadcast with the microphone up and working to the pits, and Connor Wade. Hey, Connor.
Hey, good evening, guys. Great to be with you here on night number 1 of this year's Chili Bowl Nationals. You guys talked about Sunshine Tyler Courtney switching his original podium night of Tuesday to Monday. He's ran on Monday in the past. The reasoning for the switch was not necessarily because the field was easier tonight like a lot of people think. It's more so he didn't want to have to run the same car in both the VIROC and the prelim program on the same night. The team learned that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wasn't going to be in town until later in the week. That opened up Stenhouse's car for Sunshine to run in the VIROC tonight. So that's the car he'll be in. He gets to run Stenhouse's car in the VIROC and his primary car in the prelim program tonight. So that's why Sunshine made the switch to Monday. The main reason, I think Sunshine feels like tomorrow night's going to be tough, but if he wants to win the drill on Saturday, he's going to have to beat them anyway. So Sunshine has locked in from the prelim in 4 of the last 5 Chili Bowls and has a chance to do the same tonight. We'll see. Should be good in that 7-seat car. So we'll send it back to you guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Connor. The initial qualifying nights came out. Tuesday was pretty loaded. That is a thing, but
Tuesday and Thursday definitely seem to be the stacked nights, and we saw a lot of guys switch away from Tuesday and Thursday, including myself, and I'm not scared to admit.
We have a culprit right here.
Literally only because I saw how stacked Thursday was. I'm not scared to admit it. I'm
there's 2 spots. There's 2 A-main spots
but now
every
look
night,
how many
right?
cars are on Friday.
There is a lot more cars. I still say the amount of quality cars on Friday
Sure.
is lesser than Tuesday and Thursday. And with that being said, there's more passing points maybe up for grabs there when there's more cars. So it's not easy any way you cut it. But I definitely tried to play a little bit of the smarter hand because that was available to me, it was potentially available, and so did a lot of other guys.
So, all right, being as that you've admitted that you took the shot, you said, okay, I'll bump off it. Was the guys up at the top any consideration? I say that because Tuesday's Kyle Larson night and Thursday's Christopher Bell night, and you just kind of automatically assume that one of those top 2 spots, they're going to be at least up there competing for it, if not in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but it doesn't matter, right? Friday's Justin Grant night.
Wednesday's Rico night.
And so there's a guy every night.
Monday's really becoming Cannon McIntosh night.
Yeah, so I think any way you look at that, there's a guy that is probably going to win, and there's 5 guys that have a shot at winning. So, or at least 5, or call that our minimum. And some nights we counted up to maybe 10 that had a shot at winning. So it's really hard throughout the entire field, and adding more entries only adds more difficulty to these prelim nights.
Did any of the night changes surprise either of you guys of who has gone to a different night than what you traditionally see them on?
No, real standouts. I mean,
to me, the biggest one was CV in the 39 car, so not being on Thursday, which is John Christian Trucking night, I think.
Right,
so
that's their sponsor.
That was Kevin's night, kind of before Christopher, and
I was slightly surprised to see Thorson not on Friday.
Word was that had to do with the teammate situation with Casey only being able to come certain days, and so instead of running 2 cars, Tanner gave up that night to run a different night. And I think Tanner's a guy that's confident enough. It doesn't matter what night he's on.
I was going to say, Tanner's kind of bounced around quite a bit. He's never been super consistent on a particular night.
And I think people that know Tanner maybe know that he would love to go in and stir up Christopher Bell's deal on Thursday. He would love to go spoil the party and be that guy. He maybe even thrives a little bit off that.
He's a little counterculture like that sometimes.
Yeah, Tanner doesn't really play into those roles or stereotypes. He loves to go race hard and win races.
Well, we're getting a look. The cars on the racetrack will be in heat races number 3 and 4 as they've pushed out for their practice session. Again, you get a look at the lap times on our NOS Energy Drink Lucas Oil lap time counter over the left-hand side of the screen. Amongst the names you're going to see out in this one, Chase Johnson's out on the raceway. So you're looking at the 88J. Actually, make it the 88S, pardon me. That's Scott Orr from Columbia City, Indiana. Rolling in behind him. One of 3 different 4 cars in this lineup. That is the 4C of Cody Jessup from Madera, California. The 44L, Ryan Levitt from Knoxville, Iowa. One of the Chick Magnet Motorsports cars. Shout out Chick Magnet.
Yeah.
Up ahead of him, you got the 2X of Michael Magic from Winder, Georgia.
Saw the 4K of Kayla Roll from Dillsboro, Indiana. There's Kayla.
Car stands out. We won't be missing that much.
And there's somebody to really keep your eye on. David Gravel had one of the best wing seasons, contending for a World of Outlaws championship this year. We saw how impressive he was here last year, and now he's with that stacked RMS team that includes Brad Sweet, Spencer Baston. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him contending for a lock-in spot tonight, if things go according to plan.
Yeah, the last couple of years he's been with Rusty Coons and the Matt Estep team, and the whole team last year really brought it. I know they came back again this year feeling really confident, and practice day went really well for them. So what a team Matt Estep has built with Rusty Coons, Donnie Gentry, and all those guys on the wrenches that produce really fast race cars.
Taylor Ferns in the 4. We saw that running for Bob East and the Klatt team.
Josh Hawkins in the 80, just disappearing out of the front of your screen.
Guys, I really feel like we're already seeing the track kind of open up in turns 1 and 2. You see guys moving up, and that's really good for these guys in these early heat races, starting in the back, looking to move around.
$7K Colton Garris, who just got passed.
Chase Johnson there up in the 4th spot overall, so quickest car so far in this hot lap group. There's Jade Rogers' first opportunity here at the Chili Bowl in that Kevin Ramey machine. One of the few teams that builds their car, their own chassis, their own cars. I think it's so cool what they do. And I know I was talking to Taylor Courtney, who helps that team with Kevin, and they're kind of running a Honda program in some of those cars, kind of a little R&D with the midget program. So and AJ Hopkins, who's a teammate of Jaden, said these things rip. So keep an eye out for those guys. So that'll wrap up heat race number 3 and 4. Drivers.
Your top 5 really not changing a whole heck of a lot. McIntosh and Denny still 1 and 2. Briscoe still 3. Johnson knocking on the door, 11:045. But as Clinton said, as the track widens out and slows down, you're probably not going to see the rip-roaring lap times that we did early.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to come close to McIntosh here. 1 and 2 is already starting to move up, and you can see it kind of lightening up, the dirt lightening up, getting a little bit of moisture out of it.
Cross dirt racing, fast lap times don't always equate to good racing. It typically gets better as you slow it down and slick it off through the middle. So hopefully get there sooner rather than later here on night number 1 of the 36th Annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals on FloRacing.
Let's go to Connor Wade. Connor, what you got for us?
Hey guys, real quick, I'm sure Clinton can attest to just how frustrating it can be to come to practice and have your stuff torn up right out of the gate. Well, that's what Alex Bowman had to go through this morning. I talked to him earlier, got caught up in somebody else's mess. A car in front of him wrecked. He had nowhere to go and got into it and tore up a lot of equipment on the front end of that race car. They had to completely change the axle on that number 55 machine and also had to change a left front shock and a left front radius rod. They got everything changed and fixed, so Alex is getting ready to roll it for hot laps. He'll be in heat race number 6, I believe, tonight. But guys, got to be frustrating to come and have your stuff torn up in practice, especially whenever you're going out on the same night. But Alex looking to overcome some of that adversity and put a solid run together here tonight.
All right, Connor, thank you.
It can be, but you know what? Knowing that ABR pit, they still win the party for Chili Bowl, and he kind of laughed it off this morning after that accident. So nothing too worried about it. I mean, the guy took a year off too to build these cars, and obviously now switching to Spike this year. But they're always a good group.
Yeah, we talk about the open wheel cars changing an axle or radius rod and shock could be less than a 10-minute job. If you guys are on top of it and you have your parts in place, like I'm sure that team does, they're prepared. Yeah, that's a 5 to 10 minute job, and you're ready to go again.
You're more irritated at the fact that you have to do it as opposed to anything else. I mean, you've got your complete front axle assembly sitting on the wall of the trailer, ready to go. Grab a new shock off, take the old shock off to whatever shock manufacturer you use and have them refix it, revalve it, put it back in the trailer for later on in the week. But, more annoyed that you have to do it as opposed to the actual work itself.
Saw Tanner Carrick. There's Trey Marcham. Marcham put on a heck of a show there at the shootout. High point man in one of the divisions.
And then had some bad luck to follow it.
I know.
And Trey Marcham in the qualifiers last year, 2 years ago, had contact with him, and Aaron Reitzel was the big star of the show.
That's right. The interview heard around the world.
Who is not here this year.
Yeah.
No Aaron Reitzel this year.
We could use a good villain.
I'm sure we'll find one before the week's over, for sure.
I like Aaron. I say that nicely.
Yeah.
So.
Erden Olson out of Indianapolis, Indiana. That is a colorful race car.
Car going off inside row at number 3. And yeah, we won't miss that one either. So our third of 4 practice sessions. Again, heat races 5 and 6 on the racetrack now. Look at Carrick once again. Reunited with the KKM camp.
The 15-car operation. I kind of joked with Christopher Bell. I was like, I don't think you guys brought enough cars. I think you need to bring another 5 or 6 more. He just kind of laughed. And I'm like, I can't imagine that.
They'd have to find a way to haul them down.
Yeah.
44R that you saw was Brannigan Rourke. He's out of Columbia, Missouri. You get a look at 2R. Pilot of that one is Aiden Schmidt, outside row number 1 for heat race number 5. He's from Hobstadt, Indiana. Connor Wade's favorite racetrack, by the way.
Yeah. That's a good one down there.
79, Ryan Hall from Midlothian, Texas. Another look at Rourke right outside of him as they roll the track in.
Justin Melton up ahead of that group in the 11J. There's Alex Bowman. We say it each and every year, has to be one of the prettiest looking race cars in the building. And he kind of joked today with me and said, well, they're not always the fastest, but at least we come in here and they look good. They get a whole year. They don't run the midget as much or really ever unless Chili Bowl, so they have a whole year to kind of build on them, and he takes real pride in how they look, kind of saying if we ran full-time, they wouldn't look this good, but they're certainly jaw-dropping when you go by the pit area and look at them each and every year. And
this year they, late in the season, got in to run some wing sprint car stuff.
Yeah, and Alex said he wants to do more of that next year, just to kind of stay in the seat and be fresh. And
underrated part of the design of that car, they've got the thematic shock covers on as well. You don't see that a lot. They actually got the shock covers wrapped also as part of the scheme of that. That's kind of cool.
Is that Cole Bodine in the...
It is, in the 31K. Yep.
The Dave.com guys really stepping up and bringing a fleet of cars this year with some really good drivers behind the wheel. You see Cole cutting through the infield, probably just looking for some space on the racetrack. We talked about how tight it is out there.
Yeah.
Dave.com now on the NYSE stock market exchange out there, so they're making some moves.
You mentioned a fleet, also adding into the NASCAR pool, bringing in Carson Hocevar, first-time midget ride, and then obviously first Chili Bowl, and, being a Camping World Truck Series driver, just another one that, you got to give the tip of the cap, want to get themselves in an uncomfortable situation, want to challenge themselves, be a better driver holistically, and Chili Bowl's place to do it.
Alex Sewell, local favorite, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Multiple-time feature winner around the Tulsa and Oklahoma City area in OCRS action, amongst other things. So we'll go green flag racing here on this practice session. Checkered flag is out. Top 5 unchanged. In fact, most of the top 10 unchanged from what I saw.
I think Carrick's our first guy in line in 16th.
I think you're right.
I'm missing somebody in there.
I think you're right. So the track really is slowing down and widening out quite nicely, but that'll make for better heat racing.
Carrick quickest in the group. Alex Sewell second behind him.
Bowman at 21 going to be up in there.
Yeah. A little bit of smoke coming from Ayrton Olsen's 71A car.
Yeah, a big puff came by the broadcast booth here as they were taking the checkers, and then he just kind of rolled around and came to a stop just shy of the ramp. And you can see this puff again.
These cars aren't darting off, so they might get one more lap. Yellow lights on around the racetrack, but yeah, everybody's still kind of circling. A couple of them now darting off, and now they're darting off en masse, so. Sometimes the officials look at it and go, we can give them another. All right, this is taking too long. Let's go. As your Chili Bowl Nationals programs, as opposed to the Tulsa Shootout, they go a little peppier. We
That's
roll.
right.
Made good time through practice today.
We did.
Started early and got done at a decent time.
Yeah, I think the final group was on track, maybe 11:30, so
Yeah.
several hours in between, which is nice, give the guys some rest, and our track crews had plenty of time to take a once-over and do some adjustments they need to set up for tonight. You know, we talk about how busy our track crew's been during the shootout. Today and Saturday will be the busiest as far as chasing the racetrack, making the necessary adjustments, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are relatively similar in terms of car count, number of races, so you can pretty much get a good idea of what they're going to do each and every night.
And, pulling back the curtain a little bit, we, all three of us, got a chance to see that track prep crew post-race Saturday night after the Tulsa Shootout,
Yeah.
or Saturday night, Sunday morning. They were bound and determined to have Chili Bowl go a little bit different. A lot of positivity out of them. A lot of, listen, we're gonna have this thing as good as we can possibly go, and they have put in a ton of hours prepping and getting this ready for the Chili Bowl, and nobody works harder than those guys.
Yeah.
And, proof will be in the pudding, and we hope for the absolute best from them because we know how hard they bust their butt to make this thing great.
And if you kind of want to keep track, we mentioned this during the shootout too. Brad Chandler, Chili Bowl Gravel on Twitter, give him a follow. He usually does a pretty good job updating folks. He only tweets during the shootout in the Chili Bowl of what they're doing at the racetrack and kind of the thought process behind, and another transparent way that they can kind of explain. And he tries to illustrate what they're looking for in the racetrack each and every time. And I think he may have tweeted, well, it was earlier today during practice, but as we go throughout the week, you'll kind of get an idea of what they want to do.
His last tweet 7 hours ago during practice itself, he said, after session 20, we're going to till the edge of the curb on both ends. Hopefully this will break it up enough to help move up. Ideally, we don't want to roll down the freshly tilled areas to allow it to move. So kind of a fun look in the behind the scenes of track prep when it comes to the Chili Bowl Nationals. That is, again, at Chili Bowl Gravel, Gravel.
Saw Sean Jackson there in the 7J. This is our final 2 heat races worth of hot laps. So our final hot lap group, he'll start outside row number 1 in heat race 8. Some other names. Boy, there are some names in here as well. Jerry Coons Jr. back with us again. The streak continues. He hopes a preliminary A feature starts.
Gavin Bichelle out there in the 5G,
and he,
one of the youngsters that we were talking about during the shootout that now got the golden ticket to come run Chili Bowl.
I was going to say, as soon as that age limit was reduced and the announcement came down, you knew who was going to take advantage of it. And G-Money, as they call him, big-time racer, moving up from the micro-sprint ranks to midgets and basically racing everything he can. I know he was excited about it. And this will be a good test to see, we talk about these youngsters that are now under 16 competing like him and Brent Cruz and Ryan Timms. How do they handle the moment? Tulsa Shootout is one animal. This is completely different.
2 really fascinating names in this group of cars that are out there as well. And Clinton will be well prepared to talk about Nick Hoffman, getting to work with him last year. But I'll tell you about a guy who had some serious success this year running every kind of car he could get his hands on. That's Nick Hoffman. He's out here and will be in heat race number 7.
Yeah, Nick is, I think, one of the most underrated drivers, and it's unbelievable to say that because all the recognition he gets, but what he's been able to do, kind of teaming up with Zach Dahm here on the wrenches, is pretty unbelievable to jump in a midget and adapt so well. And saw some practice video from earlier, and he looked pretty good, and so hopefully that rolls into tonight. I think he's another guy that this Monday night works well, just trying to get as many consistent laps as you can without taking a break. And Nick is so smart and well diverse in what he can do, and putting together some nice cars back there for the Rams Racing Rockwell Security Group. And obviously, I wish him nothing but the best driving for them in the past, and it's cool to see Nick in the car and doing well.
Here's the other fascinating guy in that group, and he's in your picture right now. That's Kevin Roudin driving the 26. Mr. Blue Label himself, 1/3 of the new ownership group at Skagit Speedway, owns an All-Star Circuit of Champions team, owns now 3 midgets. He really hasn't been an active open-wheel competitor for 15 years, 14 years. He'll go and he'll dabble and go fast stuff every once in a while, but Kevin doesn't have a lot of seat time and really doesn't have a lot of seat time in a midget period. So he got practice this morning. He got practice at Port City a couple of days ago and now gets his prelim night in. I can tell you he's fun. He's really looking forward to tonight. He's going to have a good time with it, but there were some butterflies a little bit earlier for Kev. So
I bet. Another shot of Jerry Coons Jr. We saw his son Cale have a great shootout this year. The next generation of Coons taken to the racetrack, and now Cale, I know, is here watching Dad. There's Nick. I talked to Nick a little bit before they started hot laps, and he wants to do a lot more midget racing during the outdoor season. So I think, he's only going to step up his game as he gets more seat time.
Well, Coons giving the front bumper action to Nick Hoffman.
And he stuck his hand out, moving to the infield, trying to tell everybody he's got a problem as we'll stay green. And more problems. That's the 7J of Sean Jackson out of Baird, Delaware, slowing down the back straightaway. And we'll slow him down.
So we'll get a look and see what's wrong. So Clinton, you can address this a little bit. Talking with Kevin Roudin earlier, he said, I feel like I'm chasing this car all over the place. I want to go here, and it's going there, and it's coming here and going there. And a midget more than any other car, really throttle-controlled driving, right?
Yeah, they're so torquey and so quick. The RPMs just shoot up on these things, and so to try and tame that down is really, really hard to do. And somebody like Kevin Roudin that doesn't race one all the time, I can't imagine just trying to step in one and do it. And it's other racers that feel that same way. I talked to Taylor Kuhl earlier today. She's a modified racer from Arizona, and she said these things are an absolute handful. Stuff happens so fast that I can't figure out what I'm doing. I said, I race too. I feel the same way, so don't worry about it.
There's Boschel and Coons. There's Kevin Woody Jr., former military man turned midget racer.
There's the big boss.
Smooth. Carson Quapple from Mooresville, North Carolina, right behind him. That white and black 22M as caution flag is out. They'll wave the checkers.
Xavier Doney locking her up through the middle of 3. Could have been way worse for him.
And you might be like, how do you lock it up? Yellow is already out, but the brakes on these things are so touchy, and especially if you have the Smith titanium brakes where you can jump on the brake pedal and lock it up and just too much compression for your tires to turn that engine back over. It's something really, really easy to do whether you have the Smith tie brakes or not. All of them, it's tough, but that won't be the last time we see that this week.
That fresh Smith tie brake with new pads on it, they just grab, and they grab really, really quick.
Yeah, and the good thing about the Smith tie brakes is as they get hot, they don't fade. They almost grab more. The titanium grabs harder when it's hot. So what Stevie Smith has designed and came up with that brake system's really kind of revolutionized the brake industry and stepped up, what we call the standard for good brakes.
Readily available, well-marketed, and made right here in Oklahoma as well, just down the road in Broken Arrow. Well, that'll do it. Hot laps are done. Cannon McIntosh does hold the quickest time at 10:07:21. Jacob Denny, Chase Briscoe, Chase Johnson, and Anton Hernandez, 1 through 5 in hot laps tonight here on FloRacing for the 36th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals. It's Cummins qualifying night, and don't forget as well the VacuWorks Invitational Race of Champions also coming up on tonight's program. But first, we got to take a time out. We'll be back with more action here live from the SageNet Center, the running of the 36th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals on FloRacing.
Next to your vehicle's engine, your transmission is the most important component of your car. If it's not properly maintained, your car may not shift properly. By adding Lucas Transmission Fix to your transmission, it cleans and lubricates sticking valves for proper shifting, renews worn bands to stop slipping, stops seal leaks, will not void new car warranties, contains no harmful solvents. Lucas Transmission Fix. It works.
Blindfold engaged.
3, 2, 1, hard left, hard left.
You're solid.
Straight, straight, hard left, hard left, hard left. Right, down, side, side, side. Yeah, we're lost. How you lost? I'm gonna need you to do a better job for me than I did for you.
I'll try and be a little calmer.
Oh boy. Here we go. Right, right, left, hard left. Sorry, I didn't want to sit. 3, 2, 1. Hard right, hard right, hard right. All right, gas it.
It's kind of chaos.
Legacies aren't built overnight. They take passion, desire, and a fire that burns within. For 20 years strong, we've been there to help you fuel that fire. And we'll continue to be there as your history is made. Pit Stop USA.